morning you guys, it's Karen and we are here to talk about glycerin. So I'm trying to do these ingredient videos again, as you know, and glycerin is just one of those things that I feel like it appears in so many different products, and it's used in everything from hair care, skin care, some makeup even. It's used in food, you know, it's kind of all over the place, so I thought we would talk about it. So what is glycerin? It is an odorless, colourless, clear liquid that has a sweet taste to it, and it's kind of sticky. There are three different types. There are vegetable, animal and synthetic. So vegetable glycerin comes from palm, soya or coconut. Normally one of those three sources, and it doesn't mean that it will be listed as vegetable glycerin. You can buy a small bottle of vegetable glycerin, but it would normally just be listed as glycerin. The animal form of glycerin comes from animal fat. Triglycerides have glycerin in it. It's a component of triglycerides, so it comes from animal fat. So if something lists glycerin, you won't know necessarily whether it is a vegetable glycerin or an animal glycerin. It is believed out there, if you are a vegetarian, that mostly glycerin comes from vegetable sources, but you couldn't be 100% sure of that. The third type of glycerin is a synthetic glycerin. So this is something that's made in a lab, something such as propylene glycol. That is a synthetic glycerin, and synthetic glycerins are made from petrolatum, which I've talked about before in mineral oil videos. Propylene glycol is something that's used in vaping. Most vape e-liquids have propylene glycol in them. If they don't, if you are allergic or sensitive to propylene glycol, which I know that I am, you can use vegetable glycerin, but I think there are differences in how much of smoke you'll get or something like that. Glycerin is a humectant, so that means that it draws water to it, very similar to hyaluronic acid. Okay, what are the claims of glycerin? The claims are that it's a good moisturiser, that it works on psoriasis, for dry skin obviously, and there are more recent claims that are talking about it being an anti-ager. So there's not massive claims for it. It's a fairly known ingredient. What is the research? The research, as always with skincare, is not huge other than in conditions. So there is a study of using glycerin versus using urea, actually, so it was comparing the two in a study on psoriasis. That study did conclusively show that glycerin is much better than urea for psoriasis, and I've seen a couple of other smaller studies showing exactly the same thing. They also show that glycerin does improve hydration in the stratum corneum, so in the upper layer of your skin. So as we said earlier, it is a humectant, so it will draw water to it. So it has evidence showing that it is a great moisturiser, a great hydrator. So far it sounded like a wonderful ingredient. Are there any concerns with it? Well, I would say there are definitely concerns with propylene glycol, so synthetic glycerin. I know that for myself, for a very short period of time, I ordered a vape thing and tried it. As it wasn't a great idea. My conclusion at the end of it was that it damages your lungs from what the evidence shows, and so I don't think it's great to be inhaling propylene glycol, and it didn't make me feel good. I felt very dizzy, as if I was drunk, and that is a typical reaction to inhaling propylene glycol if you are sensitive to it. I switched to vegetable glycerin, still looked at the evidence of vegetable glycerin in vaping and didn't find that to be great either. These are not things that are meant to be inhaled. They are foreign substances to your lungs, and so not healthy in my opinion. However, as I said in the video that was up at the time on vaping, better to do that than to smoke, of course. You know, I was a smoker for many years, but my husband and I gave up probably 12 years ago, and I've struggled with my weight ever since. So for propylene glycol, it can cause allergies, not just from inhaling, it can cause allergies on the skin, and it's also extremely toxic to pets. So again, if you are vaping using a propylene glycol e-liquid, that is causing toxicity for your pets. So that's the issue with that. With actual glycerin, so vegetable glycerin or animal glycerin, as a component of skincare, there isn't any issue with it as long as it's used at a low level. And it's believed that the maximum you should use it is at a 5% concentration. It's difficult to know in most cosmetics whether or not the concentration is higher than 5%, because although they are listed in order of how high that ingredient is on the list, it doesn't have percentages next to it. So you might have water and then glycerin, and so that's the top ingredient, but it doesn't mean that it is more than 5% of the product. But it's something for you to be aware of. If you're finding that you're using a particular product and it just seems to be making your skin drier, it could be the glycerin. And I certainly wouldn't recommend buying glycerin. You can buy glycerin from Amazon and make your own products. Don't use it in high quantities. So the reason behind that is exactly the same as with sodium hyaluronate. As we said, it's a humectant, so it draws water from the air into your skin. If you are in a low humidity environment or you use too much glycerin, it can overwork, and that would mean that if it can't get any moisture from the air, it will draw moisture from the deeper layers of your skin, and that's obviously not what you want. I don't know whether it's my imagination, but I feel like I'm more handsy since having these longer nails on. I feel like I'm using my hands more. I don't know why, I'm not doing it on purpose. Anyway, so what is my thoughts? What is the summary on glycerin? The summary is that it's a wonderful product. It's a wonderful product as long as it is used carefully and not in too high quantities. So I think this will probably be of most interest to those of you that are being a home chemist and making up your own products. Try to make sure that you don't put more than a 5% concentration of glycerin in your products. And if you're using a new product and you're having issues, then find out whether or not it could be that product if it has glycerin as the, the first or second ingredient on the list. So it's a wonderful product as long as it's not used in too high a quantity. Normally at this stage I would give you some products that I would recommend with glycerin in, but it's in so many products that there is literally a huge amount of choice for you out there. So there isn't any specific product that is based on glycerin that says glycerin in the title. It's usually just a component of a good moisturizer. So I think there's a huge amount of choice out of there. Just try to look for something that doesn't have alcohol and fragrance in would be my recommendations. That's everything from me. Thank you so much for listening. I will list all of my makeup and jewellery, etc. in the description. Let me know what ingredient you want me to talk about next, and I will speak to you again soon.